The Supreme Court has made a pivotal decision in the ongoing debate over gun rights. In an unexpected 8-1 ruling, the court upheld a federal law barring people under domestic violence restraining orders from owning guns. This marks a shift from the court's recent expansion of gun rights, signaling that the Second Amendment has limits. The decision is a win for advocates of stricter gun laws, showing the court's willingness to prioritize public safety. For gun rights supporters, the ruling is complicated. It doesn't overturn the court's historical test for gun laws but refines it. Justice Clarence Thomas was the lone dissenter, underscoring deep divisions on the court. The case, United States v. Rahimi, forces courts to reconsider how closely modern gun laws must mirror historical ones. The court clarified that lower courts don't need to find an exact historical match for a modern law, just a similar principle. This subtle shift could reshape how future gun control measures are evaluated. The decision leaves many questions unanswered, ensuring the gun debate will continue. The court is taking a cautious, case-by-case approach. Future cases will be crucial in defining the true scope of the Second Amendment. For now, the legal landscape remains complex and unsettled. All eyes are on which gun case the Supreme Court will tackle next. The Rahimi case centered on a 1994 federal law making it illegal for those under domestic violence restraining orders to possess guns. Zaki Rahimi, the defendant, ignored a restraining order and was later involved in multiple shootings. His lawyers argued the law violated his Second Amendment rights, citing the court's 2022 Bruin decision. They claimed there was no historical precedent for disarming someone based solely on a restraining order. The government countered that the law fits a long tradition of disarming dangerous individuals. They argued that while restraining orders didn't exist in the 1700s, the principle of keeping guns from those who pose a threat was well established. The case forced the Supreme Court to clarify how closely modern laws must track historical ones. The key question: is a law constitutional only if it has a direct historical twin, or is a similar principle enough? The court's decision provided much-needed guidance for lower courts. It signaled that modern laws can stand if they reflect the spirit of historical regulations. This clarification will shape how courts handle gun laws for years to come. The Rahimi case became a crucial test of the court's new, history-focused approach. The Supreme Court's 8-1 decision in Rahimi saw broad agreement across ideological lines. Chief Justice Roberts wrote that the Second Amendment is not unlimited, and that history supports laws preventing armed violence. The majority found the 1994 law fits within a tradition of disarming those deemed dangerous. The court clarified that a modern law need only be analogous to historical ones, not identical. Both liberal and conservative justices joined in this reasoning. Justice Clarence Thomas dissented, arguing the court weakened the historical test he authored in Bruin. He insisted that only those convicted of crimes should lose gun rights, not those subject to civil restraining orders. Other justices wrote concurring opinions, noting the Second Amendment debate is far from over. The decision showed rare consensus on a divisive issue, but also highlighted ongoing disagreements. The court's approach suggests more gun cases are on the horizon. The Rahimi ruling marks a significant but not final word on gun rights. The Rahimi decision stands in contrast to the court's 2022 Bruin ruling, which expanded gun rights. In Bruin, the court struck down a New York law and set a strict historical test for gun regulations. That test made it harder for states to defend gun control laws. Rahimi is the first major case since Heller and Bruin where the court upheld a significant federal gun restriction. The ruling clarified that the historical test is not absolute. Modern laws can be constitutional if they are similar in principle to historical ones. This marks a more moderate approach, allowing for public safety laws that reflect historical values. The decision acts as a break on the most extreme interpretations of Bruin. Lower courts are now told not to strike down every gun law lacking an exact historical match. The legal landscape is now more nuanced, balancing gun rights with public safety. The court affirmed the core right to bear arms but also its limits. Rahimi signals a willingness to uphold some gun regulations. The debate over the Second Amendment's reach is far from settled. The court's evolving approach will shape future gun law battles. The Supreme Court's Rahimi decision left major gun control questions unresolved, especially on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. States like Maryland and California ban AR-15 style rifles, arguing they're unusually dangerous and not meant for civilian self-defense. Gun rights advocates counter that these rifles are in common use and protected by the Second Amendment. The court recently declined to hear challenges to these bans, leaving their fate uncertain. High-capacity magazine bans are also hotly contested. States argue these limits reduce mass shooting casualties, while opponents say they hinder self-defense and lack historical precedent. The Supreme Court's refusal to take up these cases means the legal status of such bans remains unsettled. For now, these issues are left to the lower courts. The next major gun rights battle could center on these very questions. The nation awaits further guidance from the Supreme Court. The gun debate in America is defined by two deeply held views. Gun rights advocates see the Second Amendment as a fundamental right for self-defense and freedom. They argue that popular firearms like the AR-15 are protected, and that restrictions punish law-abiding citizens. They believe history and the Constitution support broad gun rights. On the other side, gun control supporters argue the Second Amendment is not absolute and must be balanced with public safety. They point to high rates of gun violence, and argue for bans on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. These groups say such weapons are not needed for self-defense, and are often used in mass shootings. States defending these laws cite a tradition of regulating dangerous weapons. Both sides claim history is on their side, fueling ongoing legal and political battles. The core question remains, how far can the government go in regulating guns while respecting constitutional rights? Since Bruin, lower courts have struggled to apply the Supreme Court's history-based test for gun laws. Judges must now compare modern regulations to centuries-old laws, leading to inconsistent rulings nationwide. Some courts have struck down assault weapon bans and age restrictions, while others have upheld similar laws. This patchwork creates confusion for gun owners and law enforcement. A gun legal in one state may be banned in another, with courts divided on constitutionality. The Rahimi decision offers some clarity, but major disagreements persist. Legal experts expect the Supreme Court will need to step in again soon. The justices must provide clearer guidance on issues like assault weapons and magazine limits. Until then, the law remains a confusing patchwork. The fight for a uniform national standard continues. The Supreme Court's Rahimi decision clarified one issue but left the broader gun debate unresolved. Courts will now be more open to upholding public safety regulations that have historical analogs. States will model new laws on Rahimi, while others will push to expand gun rights. The key battleground remains the federal courts, with major cases on assault weapons and magazine limits moving upward. The Supreme Court is taking a cautious approach, letting lower courts grapple with these issues first. The law will remain a patchwork, varying by state and circuit. The country is still deeply divided on gun rights and regulation. The Supreme Court will ultimately have the final say. For now, uncertainty prevails as everyone waits for the next big ruling. The Rahimi case is a turning point, but not the end of the story. The Second Amendment debate is far from settled. The nation's legal landscape will keep evolving as new cases reach the court.